If you want to control people, you don't want them to be too smart. You don't want them asking difficult questions about where the money goes, about why policies fail, about who benefits from the current system. You want them just educated enough to participate, but not educated enough to challenge.
Y.A.D Totoro.
What's up, everybody? I hope you guys are doing good. Today we have a little video and it's interesting. We got Mzansi report in the building. Shocking. The 88% metric pass rate is a total lie. What? I thought it was true the whole time. Let's see what they gotta say. Let's step in.
88%. I want you to hold that number in your head for a second. 88.2%. That is the number they splashed across every headline this week. The government is popping champagne. The Department of Basic Education is taking victory laps, and parents are throwing parties. But listen to me closely, because I'm going to tell you something that is going to make your blood boil. That number is a lie. It is a statistical fraud, a manufactured mirage designed to keep you quiet, while an entire generation is being led to the slaughter. We aren't celebrating excellence, we are celebrating the managed decline of our children's futures. By the end of this video, you will understand exactly how they cooked the books and why your child's certificate might be worth less than the paper it's printed on. Hit the like button right now. Not because you like the news, but because you want the truth. And subscribe, because we are not going to stop digging until the people at the top are held accountable. Let's get into the forensic accounting of this disaster. You see, when Minister Gwarube stands at that podium and smiles, she's banking on one thing, that you won't do the math. She's counting on you being too tired, too busy, too distracted to actually look at what's happening behind the curtain. But we're going to pull that curtain back today, and what you're going to see is going to shock you. Think about this for a moment. We are told the metric pass rate is at an all-time high, yet at the exact same time, youth unemployment in this country is screaming past 60%. Logic tells you that if education is improving, employability should follow, but the lines are moving in opposite directions. The passes are going up, and the jobs are disappearing. Does that make sense to you? Of course it doesn't. Because this isn't an education system anymore. It's a conveyor belt for functional illiteracy. It's a factory that churns out certificates without any regard for whether the person holding that certificate can actually function in the real world. Let's look at the smoking gun evidence. I've spent the last 72 hours looking at the Umalusi adjustment tables.
Yeah, low key, man, it's like, most of the things we learn in high school, bro, it doesn't work in the real world. Yeah, it's just, I'm just being honest, bro.
For those who don't know, Umalusi is the body that standardizes the marks. Now, standardizing sounds professional, right? It sounds like they're ensuring quality, but let me tell you what it actually is. It's a legal way to move the goalposts when the players can't reach the ball. In the raw data, we see thousands of students failing mathematics, real, hard mathematics. The kind of mathematics that actually prepares you for engineering, for science, for any technical career. So what does the system do? They nudge them toward math literacy. Then when the math lit marks are still too low to produce that beautiful 88% headline, they adjust the marks upward. We are talking about students who are passing with a 30% average. 30%. Stop right there. Let that sink in for a moment. 30% means you got 70% of the questions wrong. 30% means you fail to understand the vast majority of the material. 30% means you are not ready. If you went to a heart surgeon and he told you he passed his medical exams with 30%, would you lie down on that table? If a pilot told you he understood 30% of the cockpit controls, would you?
Let's be honest, bro. It's like, I could 30%, yeah, that's less. I won't even lie. But for the fact that that person got the position, you wouldn't ask about their matric results. Like, I won't just go up to a doctor and be like, yo, how much did you put life science? Nah. For the fact that you're a doctor and like, you do your thing, you get what I'm saying? Like the percentages, yeah, realistically you won't be doing that, honestly.
Would you buckle your seatbelt? If an electrician told you he got 30% in his wiring exam, would you let him touch your home's electrical system? No, you'd run for your life. But we are telling 18-year-olds that 30% means they are ready for the world. It's a lie. It's a systemic betrayal.
Yeah, I'm not comforting 30%. 30% is a bad pass mark. It's not so good. You feel what I'm saying? Like 70%, you didn't understand anything. But it's like, hey, it like for the fact that you got 30%, that doesn't mean you can't do, yeah, you get what I'm saying? You can't do certain things. 30% doesn't limit you to your fullest potential. It literally doesn't. Like you can do your computer things with 30%. You can do a lot. So yeah, I disagree with this statement. I won't even lie. You can have 80% and not being able to do what the 30% can do in the real world.
And here's the thing that really gets me. These kids don't know they're being cheated. They walk across that stage, they get their certificate, they take pictures with their families, and they believe they've accomplished something real. They believe they're ready, and then reality hits them like a freight train. Now, here is what's really interesting. The department loves to brag about the increase in bachelor's passes. It sounds prestigious, doesn't it? It sounds like your child is headed for a degree, a career, a life of success. It sounds like they're going to universities, getting qualifications, building futures. But this is a linguistic bribe. This is a bachelor's pass in name only. It's a label that has been so watered down that it's become almost meaningless. Here is how the scam works. They have lowered the bar for what constitutes a university level pass so significantly that the universities themselves don't even trust the results anymore. That's why almost every major university now requires a separate national benchmark test. Why? Because they know a Matric certificate is no longer a reliable indicator of whether a student can actually read, write, or solve a basic equation. The
Yeah.
universities have seen what's coming through their doors. They've seen students with bachelor's passes who can't write a
A matric certificate is like, the surface. It's like the foundation. You get what I'm saying? Like it doesn't determine how you're gonna maneuver in life, who you're gonna become, what are you capable of. There's more to it. You still gotta learn, you still gotta do a lot of things. It's just, the opening phase, like okay, now I'm opening the door. The matric certificate is the key. But yeah, it doesn't determine everything. So yeah, man.
coherent paragraph. They've seen students with distinctions who can't do basic algebra. They've seen the gap between what the certificate says and what the student can actually do. And that gap is growing wider every single year. I want you to imagine this. You buy a crate of grade A eggs. The label says grade A. The government inspector says
Yeah, because I mean, most of the things in school, like majority of the high schools, it's like cram, write, pass, and forget. You know what I'm saying? Like it's just cramming. They just want you to cram this formula in math, and then yeah, you just write it, you pass, and then you forget. So if it was more practical, like you're solving an actual problem, like in labs or something, they were gonna remember the most, like high chance they were gonna remember the formulas. But because of how the system was designed, it's like just cram, understand, pass, and forget. But if it was more like meaningful, like a project, like we're solving something legit, like you get what I'm saying? It was gonna be more exciting, and kids are gonna remember it more than they do now.
grade A. But when you get home and crack them open, they're all rotten. That is what is happening to our graduates. They walk into a lecture hall with a bachelor's pass and within 6 months, they are dropping out because they cannot cope with the academic rigor. This isn't just a failure of schooling, it's a failure of honesty. We are giving these kids a false sense of security. We are sending them into a knife fight with a toothpick and telling them they're holding a sword. We are setting them up for failure and calling it success. And why? Why would a government do this? Why would they deliberately mislead an entire generation of young people? Let me tell you, it's not because they care about education. It's not because they want our children to succeed. Let's move to the character file of the systemic enabler. We aren't just talking about one minister. We are talking about a bureaucratic machine that values optics over outcomes. Think about the timing. We are in a perennial election cycle. No politician wants to stand on a stage and say our schools are failing, our teachers are overwhelmed, and our kids are struggling. No. They want the 88%. They want the applause. They want the headlines that say progress is being made, that things are getting better, that they're doing their jobs. They are trading the long-term economic survival of this country for a 5-minute segment on the evening news. This is a quantity over quality trade, and the currency they are trading with is your child's future. Think about what that means. Every time a politician stands up and celebrates these inflated pass rates, they are sacrificing real education on the altar of political convenience. They are choosing their careers over your children's futures. Now, let's connect the dots, because this goes deeper than just bad grades. You have to ask yourself, who benefits from a nation of past but unskilled young people? Who profits when we have hundreds of thousands of graduates who can't actually do anything? If you're watching this and you want to understand how the system really works, look at the labor market. This is what I call the cheap labor syndicate. And once you see it, you can't unsee it. By flooding the market with hundreds of thousands of graduates who have certificates but no actual marketable skills, the system.
Yes, it's basically what I said at first. Like, it's just in most of the high schools, I'm sure you guys know what I'm talking about. Like, the exams, when we get exams, they're gonna tell you straight that this exam is similar to like term 2 exam or the past exams, the past grade. The like yeah, it's like basically similar to what we've done or what the past, students have done. So, you see the way they are moving, it won't be impactful in the real world. To the students who came from Matric, the information they were doing in Matric was done 5 years ago, 6 years ago, 8 years ago. You get what I'm saying? The information, majority of the activities, tests. So there's nothing practical in most high schools. So when they get to the real world, they gotta start all over. That's what I realized too after I passed Matric. Matric certificate, okay, cool. That's me opening the door, but there's still more to learn and more to do. So you can't really depend like on a Matric certificate to like determine which road are you taking in life. You just gotta take the choice.
System ensures a permanent underclass. If you have a degree but can't do the job, you are desperate. And desperate people don't demand high wages. Desperate people don't fight for better conditions. Desperate people take whatever they can get and they're grateful for it. This is like a landlord setting your house on fire and then trying to sell you a bucket of water. The state fails to educate the youth, then turns around and says, look at these high pass rates, while the private sector looks at the same candidates and says, we can't hire these people, they can't do basic arithmetic. The result, a massive pool of unemployed youth who are just educated enough to know they've been cheated, but not skilled enough to escape the trap. This isn't a mistake. This is a design feature. It's a way to keep the youth wage subsidy flowing and keep the wheels of low-skilled exploitation turning. And let me be clear about something. This isn't just hurting the students. This is hurting the economy. This is hurting the Y.A.D. Vakomiwaras. This is who Noah. This is hurting every single person in this country who depends on having a skilled, capable workforce. Let me give you a real-life example. I spoke to a business owner in Gauteng last week. He needed to hire 10 entry-level clerks, basic office work, nothing complicated. He received 2,000 applications. Almost all of them had a Matric certificate. Many had bachelor's passes. He gave them a simple literacy and numeracy test, the kind of stuff you should know by grade 9. 80% of those matriculants failed that basic test. Did you catch that?
Yeah, the problem is not the 88% pass rate, like specifically the pass rate, but it's more on what is being taught in the schools. You get what I'm saying? Like, how you passed, it doesn't really matter. As long as you surpassed or you at the pass, percentage. But it's more of what is it? What are you guys doing? What are you guys learning? You get what I'm saying? Like, is it what I'm learning in high school gonna be effective after high school? You get what I'm saying? Do I understand like basic finances, like computer, communication skills, self-confidence, like things that will help me in real life when I go out of high school? Most of the times we are not really being taught about these in high school.
They have the paper, but they don't have the knowledge. The certificate is a ghost. It's a haunting reminder of what they should have learned but didn't. It's a promise that was never kept. This business owner told me he was devastated, not angry, devastated, because he wanted to hire locally. He wanted to give opportunities to South African youth. But he couldn't because the education system had failed them so completely that they weren't even capable of doing entry-level work. Now stop right there. You see where I'm going with this? The government is patting themselves on the back for the 88%, while the business owner is looking at the reality of a workforce that can't function. This is a crisis, not a celebration. This is a national emergency disguised as a success story. So, why is this happening? Let's look at 5 possible explanations for why the Department of Basic Education is hell-bent on maintaining this 88% illusion. And I want you to think carefully about each one of these, because somewhere in here is the truth. Theory 1. The political survival instinct. This is the most obvious. High pass rates equal progress. If the pass rate dropped to a realistic 40%, which many experts suggest is where it would be if the standards were actually high, there would be riots, or heads would roll. To stay in power, you have to keep the illusion of success alive. You have to keep telling people that things are getting better, even when they're getting worse. Politicians live and die by these numbers. They use them in campaigns. They use them to justify their budgets. They use them to prove they deserve to keep their positions. So they have every incentive to keep those numbers high, regardless of what those numbers actually mean. Theory 2. The funding trap. School funding is often tied to performance. If a principal sees that their school is failing, they lose resources or their job. What's the easiest way to keep your school performing? You don't teach better, you just make the exams easier to pass. You condone students who should have stayed back. You push them through the system because a failing student is a liability on a spreadsheet. Principals are under enormous pressure. They are told they need to improve results or face consequences. But they are not given the resources to actually improve education. They are not given smaller class sizes. They are not given better training for teachers. They are not given updated textbooks or functional buildings. So what choice do they have? They play the game. They manipulate the system to survive. Theory 3. The Umalusi adjustment culture. There is a massive amount of pressure on the standardization body to ensure the year-on-year results don't look erratic. If one year the kids are significantly worse at math, you can't show that in the final report. You have to smooth the curve. But when you smooth the curve every year for 20 years, you eventually smooth the intelligence right out of the diploma. This adjustment process has become so normalized that nobody even questions it anymore. It's just what we do. We adjust, we moderate, we standardize, but what we're really doing is hiding the truth. We're covering up the fact that standards are dropping and students are learning less every single year. Theory 4. The life orientation inflation. Did you know that life orientation, a subject that teaches basic life skills and physical education, counts toward the pass rate just as much as some core academic subjects? By making LO an easy A, you artificially inflate the overall average of every student in the country. It's like a basketball game where every time you bounce the ball you get a point. It's not scoring, it's just moving. Now, I'm not saying life orientation isn't valuable. I'm saying that when you use it to prop up failing results in mathematics and science, you're cheating the system. You're creating an average that doesn't reflect actual academic achievement. Theory 5. The strategic deskilling of the population. This is the dark one. A highly educated, critically thinking population is hard to govern. They ask questions, they demand accountability, they see through the corruption. But a population that is functionally literate, meaning they can read the ballot paper but can't analyze a budget, is much easier to manipulate. If you want to control people, you don't want them to be too smart. You don't want them asking difficult questions about where the money goes, about why policies fail, about who benefits from the current system. You want them just educated enough to participate, but not educated enough to challenge. I know that sounds like a conspiracy, but let me tell you something about reality. When a system consistently produces the same failing result while claiming success, you have to stop looking at it as an accident and start looking at it as a strategy. When the same patterns repeat year after year, decade after decade, you have to ask yourself if maybe, just maybe, this is exactly what someone wants. We are witnessing the total collapse of the South African dream, hidden behind a curtain of fake statistics. Minister Gwarube and the DBE are handing out certificates that are effectively tickets to nowhere. They are pieces of paper that promise opportunities that will never materialize. Think about the kid in a rural village who worked his heart out, got his 88% metric, and thinks he's ready to conquer the world. He gets to the city, he applies for a job, and he realizes he's years behind. The heartbreak, the shame, the anger, that is on the hands of the bureaucrats who lowered the bar instead of lifting the student. That kid believed in the system. He did everything he was told to do. He studied, he passed his exams, he got his certificate, and now he's discovering that it was all a lie, that the system he trusted betrayed him, that the adults who were supposed to prepare him for the world failed him completely. Shift our focus now. We need to stop asking what is the pass rate and start asking what can our graduates actually do. Can they read a complex text and understand it? Can they solve real-world problems? Can they think critically? Can they compete in a global economy? These are the questions that matter. Police aren't going to investigate this. There won't be a blue light raid on the Department of Education for statistical crimes. The only way this changes is if you, the parents, the taxpayers, the citizens, refuse to accept the lie. The only way this changes is if we demand better, if we demand honesty, if we demand real education instead of fake certificates. Really think about that 88% number one last time. Does it feel like an 88% success rate when you walk down the street? Does it feel like an 88% success rate when you see the lines at the labor centers? Does it feel like an 88% success rate when businesses can't find qualified workers? No, because it's not real. It's a number on a page, disconnected from reality. Don't let this story die. We need to keep watching the 2026 intake. We are waiting for the real data to leak out from the universities about the first-year dropout rates. And when those numbers hit, we are going to be here to report every detail. We are going to track how many of these 88% pass students actually make it through their first year of university. We are going to count how many drop out, how many fail, how many realize they were never actually prepared. I want to hear your theories in the comments. Do you have...
Yeah, man. Yeah. Yeah, the Matric, as I said, man, it's like, it's just the keys to the first chapter of your life, just the first phase of the door. It doesn't determine everything, and most of the things that are being taught in our schools, most of our schools, it doesn't really work in the real world. Most of the basic things you should know as a person, most of it is not taught in school. You get what I'm saying? Like, yeah. So, hey, man, the education system in South Africa just needs to up a little bit. There might be a huge change, man. And just let's stop repeating these algorithms that don't work. Majority of the people have metrics, but they are not doing anything. It's like, but hey, man, you guys comment down below and tell me what you think. I'm a tap with you. Love you. Take care.